Hopi prophecy predicts the current rise of Trump, the man in the red hat. They also talk about 4 remaining different possible timelines to 5D Earth. Some of them are not very pleasant at all. Human beings must awaken to avoid the worst possible timelines. So I do ask that you come and be part of these live guided CE5 interdimensional meditations that we do every Wednesday and Saturday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. My belief is this is the most powerful thing any human can do on this planet to purify the timelines and to bring us closest to 5D in the fastest amount of time. I hope you show up. They're free. As always, we are questioning our reality and then changing it. ThunderWizard.com is the website that completely supports this YouTube channel. Check out all of the ways that you can subscribe and check out my books at michaelwilliamdenny.com. The Atum Ra meditation to become the God of your universe. This is free for subscribers at the Warrior 90 Day or higher. It is a guided meditation with powerful seed sounds. People who've gotten back to me about it have said that it has been tremendously transformative. You can also get this meditation at the shop at thunderwizard.com. Lastly, herbs.thunderwizard.com. These are products that I myself take on a daily basis. They are very helpful for the physical body to be able to attune you to these higher frequencies and, of course, bring you great physical health. All right, so today we are talking about the Hopi prophecy, which predicts the rise of Trump and 4 different possible timelines to 5D Earth, and some of them we don't want. We'll take a look at that. I do have also here these live Zoom discussion group classes, which you can get at thunderwizard.com. These are for people who are doing these interdimensional meditations and you think that you're losing your mind. This is important to talk to people who are going through what you're going through. Trust me, we are shifting into a new reality and the 3rd dimensional mind can't tolerate it. All right. Let's get back to what we're talking about here. I do have a list that I'm going to go through of all of the different timeline possibilities, ones that have come and gone and ones that we are about to head into. So this is very, very important. This video is things are changing so rapidly and my awakening is happening so rapidly. And I now understand things I didn't understand before. And a lot of that has to do with what has just recently happened, and other people who are smart and on the ball and throwing up things on YouTube and other places, letting you know, hey, look, people were talking about this a long time ago, hundreds, thousands of years ago. So we're going to be talking about the Hopi prophecy. I've put 2 links in the description. I urge you to watch them both. One is specifically, this is 1972. So this is a Hopi elder in 1972 when I was 8, 9 years old. And he's talking about Trump. He has no idea. If we were listening to it, we would have had no idea what he was talking about. But it's very clear he's talking about Trump. And then you can watch the full prophecy video where he goes into depth about the whole entire Hopi prophecy, and there's a lot of things now that are making sense that he wouldn't have understood back then. Quite frankly, I didn't understand. I've been following the Hopi prophecy for a long time, so I think I have an understanding of some of the timelines. But here's the biggest lesson I've gotten from this. So my understanding of prophecy up until this point is that people are looking into the future, they see the future, they prophesy. By the way, it's not prophesize. I hate when people say prophesize, prophesized. No, the verb is to prophesy. Sorry, my OCD about language. So, we've got this understanding that somebody prophesies about the future. And these prophecies then are in stone. And that's what happens. That's how Christians deal with the prophecies of the New Testament. People think that they're in stone, and that's not what's happening. Assuming that the person is actually seeing into the future, they're seeing probabilities, the most likely probabilities. If they're only seeing one probability and they're saying this is what's going to happen, that is not how it works. And I'm here to tell you I'm here to tell you that what we're doing in these live guided interdimensional meditations, people didn't foresee this coming. I'm not going to get into the specifics of how I know that, but I know that. I know that light beings didn't see this coming. The gods didn't see this coming. Prophets and shamans did not see us. They didn't see me coming. The only reason I'm here and I'm doing what I'm doing, and the reason why our meditations have literally the most powerful effect on planet Earth is because nobody saw it coming. I was just some guy who heard about ETs working with people, and I selfishly said, man, I'd love to train with them. And so I just hammered away at it. And they went, that guy that won't leave us alone, we're going to give that guy some power. And what ended up happening, what they're telling me, is that apparently because of my stubbornness, the power that we have gained and the power that I have gained is something they didn't foresee. And they keep saying, we didn't expect this. You're doing things you're not part of the probability scenarios that we saw. So if you want to understand how reality works, again, the first thing that I was taught by my higher dimensional guides, the first thing they taught me was that you are a probability. And I went into depth meditating about it and working with them on it. And what I saw was not what you think. Most people think that there are different timelines, and these timelines are fixed in the fabric of the multiverse, and you have to pick from one of the available timelines, and that's not how it works. Reality is a manifestation of the most likely probability. That's why the light being didn't say you are a possibility, because possibility means infinite, and it means it's possible. Anything is possible. You do this, do that, stand up, sit down. But the likelihood timelines are not very easily manifested if they're not probable, if they don't have probability. Now, there are infinite numbers of probabilities, which if you could say there's infinite possibilities, but it's not a possibility, it's a probability. So some probabilities are highly, highly improbable, almost impossible. So what ends up happening is the most likely probability manifests. So when light beings, gods, shamans are in their state and they're looking into the future, they are looking based on where energy is headed, where consciousness is focused at that point, and they're looking at the choices of the most likely probabilities that could manifest. They're not set in stone. This is extremely important. And what I've come to find out is that I was an improbability. What we're doing is not something that anybody saw coming. So when you hear this guy talk about these possible timelines, he's not bringing into account what we're doing, because they didn't know. They didn't see us coming. So we've created a probability that has changed everything. So I want to tell you something else too, because what I believe is that If it hadn't been for these meditations that we're doing, I think it's very likely that Trump would have been unalived. And the reason for that, even though he was foreseen as a possibility, and you'll see he's a possibility, a probable timeline. And the reason why he was destined to become unalived. So let me explain to you how it works. So way back hundreds of years ago, the Hopi shamans are doing their thing, they're interacting with light beings or whatever they do, and they see these probable timelines, and they see what is going to happen between this world and the 5D world, and the different probable timelines that could happen. And they catalog, well, if we do this, then we'll go straight to 5D Earth. Okay, but if we don't do this, then this might happen. And if we do this, then this could happen. And so they have all these possibilities, and they created a prophecy. And they put it, the prophecy rock. They carved it in a rock, and those who could decode it knew what was being said there. And so they knew that it wasn't like one timeline was going to happen, and if this was going to happen and this, they're like, well, if this, then that, and then if this, then that, and then if this, then that. They didn't see us coming. The dark forces have technologies, and they are masters of timeline manipulations. Really what they are is they're probability manipulators. So they have technology. It's called the Looking Glass Project. Go Google it, look for it. If you look hard enough, you'll find it. Looking Glass Project. And it's very old technology. It's Atlantean technology, I believe, that survived the cataclysm and ended up being taken hostage by the dark forces. They might have even been the ones that created it before the fall of Atlantis, but it is Atlantean technology, and it gives people the ability to view probable timelines. Now, what they didn't understand, and the reason why they didn't perfect it, and they haven't perfected it, is that sorry, I'm being distracted by some weird light reflection. What they didn't perfect was the understanding that probabilities manifest based on the consciousness of the observer. So the technology involves a human being, sitting and connecting with the technology, and then using their psychic ability to look into the future. And depending on where they focus their consciousness, they'll create a probable reality. You get somebody else and they sit in it, they'll create different probable realities. So they can only, the best thing they do is guessing, but they can see, okay, so if we manipulate society this way, i.e. 9/11, or if we manipulate society this way, i.e. if we do that, this is a probable reality that can come up, which will give us the ability to manipulate and control society. Got me? So they knew that Trump was coming. And so when he started coming on the scene, if you look back at it in hindsight, now I was suffering horrifically from Trump derangement syndrome, horrifically. I did not see him for who he was, and I did not see him for what he represented. Bear in mind, I'm not worshiping Trump, I'm not QAnon. He's just a person. But they knew. They knew when he came along, they knew by certain signs, this is the guy we got to watch out for, because if we don't get rid of him, he can completely throw a monkey wrench into everything that we're doing. And so from the beginning, if you remember, from the beginning, they lied about him. From the beginning, they started throwing lawsuits at him. From the beginning, they tried to impeach him. Well, they did impeach him. They didn't successfully kick him out. Impeachment is just the trial itself. But they tried to kick him out by impeaching him twice, and they failed. They failed at everything. And so they were on track to unalive him. And if they had unalived him, they saw that what was going to happen was massive protests, which then they would use. They would initiate martial law, and they would use the military against people, and then they would lock down all of the they would control all free speech, and they would censor everything, and it would have gone very badly. And that's where we were headed. And there are prophecies, and they're based on astrology. That's it's clear Trump was meant to be unalived. We changed that. I'm saying that because light beings have been very clear that that's what we did. And specifically on August 14th, the live stream meditation that we did created the scenario where he just got a new earring hole. And that has made him more dangerous to them than ever. So let's get into the timelines. All right, so we have to set the stage here. So we're heading into the fifth world. We are in the fourth world, and we're heading into the fifth. Let me just say one last thing. I now understand more clearly when I listen to this Hopi elder talking. When he talks about the elder white brother, and when he talks about our white brothers when they came here, and he talks a couple of times about how as he describes it, the Native American and the white brother, that they came together and they've come apart and come together a couple different times. If you listen carefully, you will hear him say that. I didn't hear it the first time because I didn't even know anything about Atlantis. I didn't believe it existed. I now know. And he talks about how the white brother created technology before, and it almost destroyed them, and they are now creating it again. So it's very subtle. He's not a very prolific speaker, so it's hard to hear. He doesn't even really know a lot of what he's saying. He only is repeating what he's heard. But I glean from that the Hopi elders, the prophets, if you will, saw Atlantis and saw that the Atlanteans came up with technology, destroyed themselves, and have come back. They knew that. And so this really, Europeans coming to the Americas is really the second coming of the white brothers with their technology. So there was a probable reality where none of this deep state, horrible, dark force people, there is a probability that could have happened that this never could have arisen. So with that in mind, now let's get into this. So the Hopi fifth world up at the top, if white brothers bring the cross without the circle, they have forgotten who they are and will bring destruction. Now this guy in these links doesn't talk about this, but this is part of it. And so what happened is that the Hopis knew that their white brothers were coming. And if he came wearing a cross within a circle, then he had remembered who he was, meaning he would have stayed with his Atlantean understandings. He would have been a spiritual person with powerful healing technologies. So if he showed up wearing a cross within a circle, and if he understood how to shake hands, there was a specific way to shake hands, if he had remembered that, then that would have launched us towards a timeline that would have fast-tracked us toward 5D. It would have created a heaven on earth, and the technology combined with the spiritual understanding of the natives we would have come together, and we would have created a beautiful, the envy of the entire universe would have been 5D fast-tracked. But if the white brothers showed up and they had a cross with no circle, it meant that they had forgotten who they were, meaning the Atlanteans had not remembered who they were. And this could very well be my fault based on what I've said. If I hadn't dove into, 3D Earth in my codependent need to try and save everybody, if I had stayed up in higher dimensional state, I might have been able to prevent this. I could be wrong about that, but it just hit me now. So my apologies to everybody for that, if in fact that's true. But when the Spaniards showed up with the cross, not inside of a circle, and they didn't understand the handshake, the Hopis knew, okay, the white brothers have gone down the wrong path, and they're bringing destruction. So that's one timeline come and gone. Timeline number 2, which did happen, rise in technology. The Europeans come and they bring technology, and they continue to rise in technology, bringing destruction, activating the first 2 earth shakings, which are World War I and II. And so these shakings of the earth, these wars, were designed to get humans' attention. And of course, the dark forces knew how to manipulate this. And anyway, I don't want to get into all that nonsense. These wars were manipulated and orchestrated by the banks. If you want to find out the core of all of the dark force energy, it's the banks. There's a reason why Swiss banks were neutral during World War II, because they were financing both sides of the war. So that's really the biggest enemy is the banks. So the rise in technology brings destruction, activating the first 2 earth shakings, the wars. Timeline number 3, which is what we are in right now. The man in the red hat comes to destroy dark force control over the earth. Humans must listen. So this I never would have thought. I mean, look, Trump is I have tremendous gratitude and respect for what he is doing right now. We'll talk about that in a second. I'm absolutely shocked at how fast he has gone to work and how fast everything is already changing. Already. It's only been, what is it? He was elected on the 5th or the 6th. It hasn't even been a week yet. It hasn't even been an entire week, and he's already got everybody around the world lining up and flying right. It's amazing, and there's more coming. And what he's laid out that he's going to do to the deep state within the United States government, and the WEF has publicly said if Trump is elected, it'll destroy the New World Order. Now, Trump is just a person, and like I said, he's not the greatest speaker in the world. I'm quite sure he's done very human things. I think a lot of the things he hasn't done, but he's not a saint. He's not a god. He's not anything special. He's just a person. But the timeline that we are in now is that timeline 3, the man in the red hat comes to destroy the dark force control over the earth, and the Hopis talk about him as a purifier. Now, let me clear up something that I had misunderstanding about. So the problem with looking at prophecies, especially when you're not part of the culture or you don't have access to the original prophecies, is that things tend to get generalized. So the general prophecy of the Hopi is that people have heard, I heard this, that the Hopi said that the Bahama was going to come, and he was going to be the elder white brother, the lost white brother, who comes and he saves the world. So he's like a Messiah, he's like a savior, and he comes and he does this and he does that. But if you listen to actual Hopis talk about it, not, white people rehashing it. If you listen to some of the older Hopis talk about it, you have to really look to find it. They'll talk about the Bahanas, plural. And it just, if I understand it right, it just means a purifier. So there's going to be a time when the Bahanas come, the purifiers come. And the purifiers are going to shake things up, and if we listen to them, then we will manifest a probability that goes straight into 5D, where we live in peace without money, with the Great Spirit, the way that they saw it and talk about it. Let me step back one other time. Now, if you've done any astral traveling and you've looked at timelines, people who've done this, there's only a few. There's a couple of people who I trust, who I know what the hell they're talking about. Most people, I got to tell you, most people who talk, most people who channel, most people who prophesy, they don't either know what they're talking about, they're projecting onto it, they're making it up. A lot of them are con men and con women. Very few people that I've listened to, I can tell, know what they're talking about, because you can tell. If you've been out there and you've come back, you know when somebody's done it. And you can tell when somebody hasn't. And I can tell. There are people that are much better at it than I am. I choose not to leave my body when I astral travel. Some people who have the ability to leave their body, who aren't just imagining things or tripping out and projecting. What they will say is that when you're outside of the third dimensional matrix, time is, again, probabilities. And the way it's been described by one person, which I thought was a great way to describe it, is that he was talking with a light being who was talking about the future. And it was like a deck of cards. So each, if you look at it, like we look at time as a flowing single unit, and that would be like doing this to the cards. But really what's happening is you got these individual probabilities that line up. And you get a bunch of them lining up, you can look at them like a stack of cards. Now, what he saw was that if a light being was trying to show him the future, it would be like looking through a stack of cards. Then when he came back to his body and lived through that, he actually saw that the details were different. And some things did happen and some things didn't happen. Which again, even the gods can't tell you what's going to happen. They can tell you the most likely probability. But we have the power over which probability is manifested. We have that power. If we came together and we decided to completely change everything right here and right now, there would erupt a timeline that nobody ever saw coming. Again, that's what we're doing. There's a reason why physically my body reacted in the very beginning when light beings started working with me, and all I did, remember, let's go back, all I did was I asked the light beings, when is this event going to happen? And they said, when you decide. And I went, okay, well, I'm just going to fly into the sun and I'm going to send energy to Earth, and let's do the solar flash thing now. And I did a live meditation and they went crazy. They said, oh my God, you have no idea what you just did. And I got this feeling that I did, because there was like all this stuff going on behind the scenes, and these beings were coming to me, and they were, I could tell like they were, I was getting the attention of people that didn't even know I existed. And this light being showed up, and he said, because of what you've done, I'm going to give you an upgrade. And he said, you're the supreme lord of this universe. And the power that came out of him, it hit my body, I was in bed for a week. And I went crazy. I thought I was going to lose my mind. They came back later and said, sorry, we didn't realize it was going to, destroy you physically. And they gave me a lot of healing energy. But for 6 months straight, they were showing up and doing things to my body. And they said, you're the first. You're the first, meaning you're the first that's going to have all of these connections. In other words, they pushed up the program by who knows how long. What's happening to me and the experiences that I have and the connection that I have is something that was supposed to happen later. But they've upped the timeline because the dark forces have this technology and they're manipulating probable timelines, and so the light beings and the gods are working overtime to correct that. And that's what I am. I wasn't supposed to happen. Wasn't part of what people thought was going to happen. So again, I'm telling you, these meditations are the most powerful things we can do. We can change everything. We can change it all. So the timeline number 3, the man in the red hat comes. He is a Bahana. He is a purifier that comes to destroy the dark forces. He comes from the east, and we have to listen. If we don't listen, then timeline 4 will happen. I hope I'm understanding this right. So timeline 4 is that people from the sky fall like rain onto America, and humans still have to listen. Now there's this talk about, I don't know if I understand it, I don't know if he completely understood it, but if the people fall like rain, which I think might be extraterrestrials making contact and coming to Earth, because if people don't listen and they start messing with technology, because the technology that the dark forces have is unbelievable. You know, go and check out Dr. Stephen Greer's website and to see the kind of power that they have. It's worse than the Death Star. You know, like Star Wars Death Star, it's like that level of destruction. So bear in mind, if Trump isn't able to dismantle this, and if this doesn't start an awakening where we continue to dismantle their infrastructure, if they use or start using these weapons, or if people don't listen, which is the big thing, if people don't listen, and if people don't change, if people don't awaken, then the dark forces will start their campaign of Earth destruction. They're trying to destroy everything on Earth. And if they start going down that path, then the light beings are going to have to come and, you know, stop it. So timeline number 4 is that people fall from the sky like rain onto America, and then what ends up happening is that the dark forces are lined up like the worst. I can name a few, but even the people that we know, the big names like the people and the, you know, but the people who are responsible for the question, where are the children? Those people which you don't know and you don't see, and you don't know the secret armies that are being created through horrific methods, and you don't see the genetic manipulation and the hybrids they are. Human beings, dark force human beings are trying to create alien human hybrids. They've been doing it for decades. The horrific things that they are doing. The light beings are going to come down and they're going to pull those people up, and the way it's described is they're going to unalive them by separating their heads from their shoulders. I don't know if that's symbolic or if that's real, but it'll, you know, that, and even then we still have to listen. So that's timeline number 4. Timeline number 5, I've got 6 here, but I meant 5. Timeline number 5, if humans do not listen to any of this, Chinese are going to invade the US from the West Coast and they will destroy everything. So understand that there's a large force of dark force humans that have infiltrated and are part of what we perceive as communist China. And if we don't destroy the infrastructure, and the only way that that's going to happen is if everybody on the planet wakes up. Because again, the only way these people have power is if we allow them to keep it. So if people don't wake up, even after all this stuff happens, they're saying this is still a possibility. Then what will happen is Chinese are going to come from the West. They are going to, with their millions and millions of people they have in their army, and I'm sure they will build up an even bigger army during all of this if things go south. Then they're going to, like ants, crawl over from the west, and when they come, they will destroy everything. They will have no mercy. Dark forces want to get rid of all the people in the world. Now, maybe it's not communist China, but it's going to be coming from the West, and they will have been building up their army. When you answer the question, where are the children, you're going to find out that there is a secret army that's being created behind the scenes, and very well trained, with the most powerful technology. Ruthless. They've been tortured since early childhood. They are just stone cold psychopathic killers, and they will destroy everything and everybody in their path. That is timeline number 5. Timeline number 6, which I have as timeline number 7. If humans do not listen to... I already said... Why did I repeat myself? Anyway, looks like I wasn't paying attention. Timeline number 8, which is, timeline number 6. If humans do not listen to any of this, then there are going to be lightning storms that destroy all the technology on Earth. This will be the last and final destruction of the third dimension. Now, if we go back up to timeline number 3. Timeline number 3 and 4, I'm not clear on exactly what happens, but the purifier, the man with the red hat, when he comes, he's going to show up fast. And he's going to do things the way the Hopi guy says, before breakfast. So it means, and what's interesting is Trump just got elected. Hasn't been a week. He's already gotten all of the world leaders, all of the bad actors, all of the most powerful people, Hamas has said, we don't want to go to war anymore, because they know Trump will wipe them off the face of the planet. And same with everybody else. I think it's some other places in the Middle East, there's been a lot of, you can call them terrorists or you can call them freedom fighters, depending on which way you look at it. They've said, hey, we're going to stop all hostilities. All that happened was Trump got elected. And if you've been watching, he's got his 10-point plan on how he's going to take out the deep state. And then he's got this plan on how he's going to restore free speech and get rid of censorship. And then, of course, you've got RFK, who's going to go in and he's going to take out, he's already said to the FDA, the CDC, I don't know who else, I don't think we have control over the WHO, but, the NIH, CDC, FDA, he's already said, keep all your records and pack your bags. He's already said he's going to get rid of them. I mean, they're going in immediately, and it's only been a few days. He's already talking about getting rid of the, firing the Fed, the chairman of the Fed, which is, he has all this governmental control, and he's not a government officer. And as you know, the Federal Reserve Bank is not owned by the United States. It's owned by private bankers in Europe. And he's already talking about getting rid of the income tax. I mean, and he hasn't even gotten started yet. So the Hopi said the man in the red hat's going to come and he's going to show up before breakfast time. Now, somewhere in this, there's going to be perhaps the solar flash event, but something is going to happen which is going to take out all technology. Like there's going to be a blackout. I think it's probably going to be a solar event. Going to black everything out. I don't want this, to be clear. I don't like that idea, personally. I would prefer that we don't have to go through any of that. I would love for the solar flash to come, and if it wipes out all technology, as long as I get to go to 5D, I don't care. Do whatever, I don't care. It's not going to be my problem. If I'm going to be down here, I want to have access to all of that stuff. But apparently that may be a possibility. It may be part of the reset. Now, I may be conflating the two different timelines, because the timeline where the people rain down from the sky, which only comes when we don't listen, one of the first times we don't listen, when they come down, they're going to get rid of all technology. They're going to wipe it out so that people can't have access to, so that the dark forces won't have their all of the infrastructure they have. You know, I mean, the level of spying is unbelievable. You know, there's a certain brand of vitamin C that I buy when I go to the store. And when I come back, I don't know how they do it. I've got a television here. It's a smart TV, so I watch, you know, I'll watch YouTube on there. And the YouTube has ads on it because, you know, it's just the way things are now. And only the day that I come back from the store having bought that particular brand, there will be an ad for those vitamins on the television YouTube, not on my computer, on the television. But the television YouTube knows what I'm browsing on my computer, even though I'm not signed into that YouTube on the television. I'm not signed into that one. It still knows what I'm, you know, it's just amazing to me. So the level of you know, the AI, Google is watching everything that we're doing. It's amazing, absolutely amazing. So they're going to come. You know, when the dark forces don't have the ability to monitor everything that you're doing and track everything that you're doing, it takes away a huge amount of their power. So at some point there might be a blackout, which will. The idea is to get rid of their ability to do that. All right, so I threw this timeline together quickly. As you can see, timeline 7, I wasn't paying attention, that's a repeat. So the Europeans come to America with a cross and a circle, and if they do, we were supposed to create heaven on earth. That obviously didn't happen. We came because of perhaps because of what I did. I set up the scenario for the rise of the Abrahamic monotheist religions, and so human beings showed up with a cross outside of a circle, meaning they forgot that they were Atlanteans. They forgot we forgot. And so that set up a time where the Hopis had to just kind of, you know, they had to circle their wagons and keep to themselves. And they watched all of this technology come and destroy the earth. There were 2 shakings, World War I, World War II. We didn't listen. And so now comes the man in the red, the Bahana, one of the Bahanas, the purifier. And if we listen, to the exposure of the deep state that is coming, and if we don't all get woke and work against him, like you know, the mainstream media is calling for you to rise up against him. If we don't do that and we actually support him and help him in this purifying process, then what will happen is then there will be a direct connection to, we can go straight to 5D from here. So this is where you and I come in. We are doing these meditations, and again, we have changed the timelines. This is a probability that hasn't been foreseen. This is what I'm continuously being told by light beings. You have no idea what you're accomplishing here. They're standing back and watching. When we go out into our astral bodies and we're chanting the Huar breath and sending energy directly to the sun, you know, they're watching, going, what's going to happen? What's going to come from this? This has happened numerous times. We do it, and there's been a time where they said, we don't know what's going to happen next. We need to watch and figure out what's going to happen. There's been a couple times where they said, you know, you need to calm down the energy because we don't know what's happening here. They're not saying that now, because after August 14th, they said, you did it. You defeated them. And as I told you, I think the dark forces knew that Trump was coming, and they were on track to succeed in unaliving him if we hadn't have stepped in with the meditations that we're doing. So let's keep doing that. Let's keep doing that so that we can bring this 5D as fast as possible. That's my goal. I want to get out of here. I want to go home. I want to go to my home, my 5D home. I've been there, I've made it, it's unbelievably beautiful. I can't wait to go there. But I'm not going to leave until I clean up my mess. And my mess is, I set things up so that these dark force elites could show up and do what they're doing. So I'm not leaving until they are out. You know, it's interesting, people's responses. Somebody responded very negatively to my video about, you know, taking out the dark forces, and this person called me a false light. I mean, that, no, I'm okay. It didn't destroy me or anything, but you know, for somebody to accuse me of being deceitful, evil, false light, because I'm calling for spiritual warfare to destroy the infrastructure, to completely destroy the infrastructure of the dark forces. There's so many people out there that, you know, want either they want love and light, and they're so codependent that they can't tolerate the idea of purifiers coming in and purifying things. I have no interest in harming anybody physically, not even the worst of the dark force people. I have no interest whatsoever. There's going to be that thing where people have the top part of their body separated from the lower part. I'm not going to have any part in that. That'll be somebody else. I'm not taking on that karma. So it's, but you know, when we did the meditations to change the course of the hurricanes, more than one person got upset and told me not to do that. And they made the argument, you know, that people need to die and all these, you know, we shouldn't interfere with the course of things. No, what are you talking about? We absolutely have the power to change our reality. Our intentions create each probability. It is our responsibility to purify this world and bring about the best world possible. All of the souls of the, you know, all the horrible things I mentioned about what's going on with some people, every single person, no matter how far down they've gone into the frequency, they have a beautiful soul within them, and they deserve to awaken to that. Now, there's going to be some karma that they're going to have to work through, and that's okay. But, you know, it doesn't mean that we just sit back and let people do horrible, harmful things. We must stand up energetically. We must stand up spiritually. We must stand up with our consciousness, and we must be ruthless with ourselves. 12 steps to 5D. You get to steps 4 through 7. You're ruthless with yourself about your own negative vibrations and clearing that up. We have to grow up. And this false, you know, love and light garbage where, you know, people get their panties in a wad, because I'm talking about taking our energies and destroying, purifying lower vibrations, that people get scared and accuse me of false light. Anyway, you guys know where I stand. But I am, as I said, you know, I'll finish it up with this, but I'm absolutely committed. I am in full 100% spiritual warfare mode, and I am energetically going after the infrastructure of the dark forces, and I will not stop until I've destroyed them. The people, I want to awaken them and free them, no matter how dark they are. They deserve that. What they're doing and the energies that they are connecting with, I will destroy it. I will not stop. And I encourage you to join me. The way we do that, we work on ourselves, we do the interdimensional meditations, we do the energy practices, the 12 steps to 5D, and we do these live guided interdimensional meditations. If you can't be there for the live ones, then come as soon as they've been recorded and listen to them and do them. It's the most powerful thing any of us can do, and I hope you join me with that. That's it, my friends. Thank you so much. And as always, I love you all. Please take very good care of yourselves. Remember, thunderwizard.com if you want to support this work, as you go there and subscribe. And the subscriptions that actually give you teachings is the way that I stay, you know, with food in my belly and a roof over my head. And again, the Atum Ra meditation to become your own God of your own universe is free for subscribers. And if you don't want to subscribe, you can go to the shop and get it. Herbs.thunderwizard.com. My apologies. This is if you're in the United States, they will ship to you. And if you're in another country, there's a possibility they might not be able to ship to you, or it'll be expensive. So my apologies for that. That's it. Please take very good care of yourselves, and I will see you all very soon.